There's some very simple but highly effective strategies that individuals can do to better deal with change. And these aren't things that we taught at Alltel. Okay? So you didn't get it from there. You could have read a book on it, could have gone to other seminars that talked about it, but by and large, some of these things we haven't had presented to us before. What this represents is how companies, how organizations is a better way of saying it, deal with change. You'll notice that we've got people divided into categories. Can you see the initiators on the far left? Then they're followed up by early enrollers and middle enrollers and late enrollers and diehards, and then the lunatic fringe on the right, the people who can never accept change. Okay? About 2% of the population. In the room today, with approximately 40 of us, we all fall on here somewhere. We're in one of these categories. The interesting thing about this, just for our purposes today, is depending on the change event, you can be in a different category. If you want to paint your house a different color, you might find yourself over here as opposed to job searching, where you still might be over on this side saying, I don't really want to get to that right now. I don't even know what to do yet, which is why a lot of us are here. Okay? So I think that's pretty interesting, is where people fall on that. If we were doing a company workshop, we'd go into that a lot more. Alltel was pretty good at dealing with change. We always felt like we could do better. But the one thing the company did prepare us for, I think, is dealing with a lot of change events. I mean, we got good at it, frankly. So you need to count on that as a skill that's going to help you in your job search and your career aspirations and decisions that you're going to make. So typically, Alltel, more of us would have fallen on the left-hand side of this curve, depending on the change event, than some companies. Some companies are skewed way to the right. All you got to do is look at the American car manufacturers to figure out how well they dealt with change, right? So they would have naturally skewed to the right a lot more. Thankfully, we came out of a change organization. First one was for companies. This one is really about us, because no matter the change event, every one of us has to go through this curve. And the curve here indicates that we make a path through all these boxes. Okay? Every one of us does, eventually. At some point, you got to come out on the other side. So we all get through it eventually. Funny thing is depending on who you are, your curve may be a lot shallower than that. You may get through the event faster than other people. And that's one thing to consider as you're going through this, is there is no right speed on how do I make decisions about my future. There is no right speed, right? You all got to do it at the speed with which you're comfortable, unless you're just kind of lagging behind a little bit, staying stuck in denial and resistance, and probably need someone to prod you just a hair, right? But not everybody's going to go through it real fast. You know, one of the things that we're bad about in business is we tell people when there's a change coming, the phrase we normally use is just get over it, right? Get on board. It's going to happen. You can't stop it. You can't do anything about it. And a much better phrase for you to consider for using on yourself is, I need to get through it. Not over it. I need to get through it, right? I need to pass through all 4 of these phases. Is there anyone in the room who hasn't got to expiration yet? It's okay if you haven't. Everybody has? Okay. What I would suggest is that even if you think you're in exploration, some of you might be much more aggressively in it than others. Because many of y'all don't know when, do you? See, what's the hardest thing about getting through these boxes is how much time do I have to get through them, right? I don't know when my end date is. We were just talking about that with the accounting folks I'm over here looking at. They don't know when. Kevin alluded to the fact they may be one of the last ones. The IT people are saying, I'm going to be, right? The conversion is going to be done last, so I'll be here after the accounting people. When you don't know an end date or when the next future is going to start, then it gets a whole lot harder to do this. Okay? And that's okay. It's okay, but you should be exploring. When I first was giving these workshops back in the fall of 2008, and people would be talking about, well, if I don't know an end date, how do I contact companies? To let them know I might be interested in a job. And my response was, well, you can contact them for a lot of different reasons. One is to try to understand salary ranges, skills that they're looking for. You're shopping yourself. You're not necessarily going to say yes to somebody, but you're window shopping. You're testing your skills and abilities against what the market's asking for, right? You're testing your salary requirements against what the market's willing to pay. You can even tell some prospective employers, I don't know my end date yet. Listen, Alltel experience means a lot in the marketplace. It means a ton. That's one thing Alltel people have struggled with, is they tell me you don't know how to translate your skills outside of the company that you work for if you've been working for Alltel for a long time. So I would suggest that one of our very first change strategies is we got to drop that. Go back in your life and remember when change was a positive experience for you. Maybe it was getting married, having a child, getting hired by Alltel. Maybe not. Maybe it's other things. But whatever it was, find what made that change experience positive and write those attributes down. This is where we fail. We don't like to write. But write down the things that made that experience positive. That goes on the left-hand side of the sheet. My accountants, they understand the T thing there. That goes on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, remember a change experience that didn't go so well. And why? What were the factors that caused that to be a negative experience? Write that on the right-hand side. Then guess what you do? You look at what you wrote on the left, what you wrote on the right, okay? You can even do more than one change experience if that's going to help you build the picture. But the power of this is by writing it down and then doing the comparison, what you should find, most likely, is there are certain success factors in positive change that you naturally gravitate to. And there are negative failure factors in a negative change that you want to stay away from. It's that simple, okay? It's that simple. Change is scary, y'all. Trust me. It was absolutely frightening in January and February, right? And still gets a little nervous for me today. And yet it can be the most exciting, successful time of your life. Right? It really can. These are going to be great opportunities that are going to open up for all of us, okay? And we don't want to be the dinosaur. We want to evolve out of this, all right?